questions you have about this afterwards or anytime, but I did want to talk a little bit about the trawls. We just finished our August trawl. The August trawl is what is used as the first estimate of each year class. So this year we went out and trawled, and our results are going to be used to estimate this year's year classes. On that same page is the quota and the bag limits. There's a column along the right. And what that is all the walleye trawl values from August since 1988. The first column, Ohio CPHA, all that is catch per hectare. Everything we estimate is how many fish we caught per hectare trawled. That's based on right around 40 trawls a year in the western basin from Ohio. This isn't one or two sites. This is 10 minutes a site of trawling on the bottom and up to 41 sites each year. The second column is the combined Ohio-Ontario catch per hectare. That's what's used. That's the actual value that's used to estimate the year class. We're not the only ones out there trawling. Ontario does close to 40 trawls in the western basin. So literally, you're talking about close to 80 trawls every year in the western basin for 10 minutes a site. And that's what's used to calculate those values. And you can see the back of that is using those same values, using along the x-axis, that combined trawl index. Then on the y-axis is how many fish did that result in. And so each point is a year. I didn't label all the years, I just wanted to show you how well what we catch trawling, how well it relates to what we end up getting out of that year at 2 years old. We consider walleye to be part of the adult population at 2 years old. So this is what we caught as young of year and what that ended up being at 2 years old for the year class. There's 3 years that don't really line up. If you look at this, up to about 60 caught per hectare, it's a pretty straight line as far as the relationship between what we catch trawling and what actually ends up being the year class. For whatever reason, 94, 96, and 93 didn't line up that well. Maybe the younger year were distributed differently that year. Something was different. But then you see that one all the way up at the top right? How many people know what year that might be? 2003. But the interesting thing is that's a pretty straight line between those lower values and that one. It really makes those 93, 94, 96 kind of stick out as basically outliers to some extent. But on that back to the data, that 2009 is blank. I tried to get fancy and put that in a little lighter black font. It didn't copy, and I didn't catch it until now. That 2009 value for Ohio catch per hectare, because we haven't combined with Ontario yet, they just got done. The combined index isn't completed. 5.46. It's not good. Not a zero, but certainly not good. Now, if you look in a lot of years, I've got the average down there. That average is through 2008. The combined index is usually a little higher. Ontario might have a little better larval habitat. Their indexes are usually a little higher than ours, so usually their value brings ours up a little. On average, since '88, our value is average 31. The combined value is average 35. So this year we're saying ours is 5.46. It might end up a little higher than that, but it's not going to be anywhere near average or excellent. If you look last year, our value was actually a little higher than the combined value, so it can go either way. Yeah.
Could you explain the exact procedure for the trawl, how that works?
Yeah,
How big is a hectare?
A hectare is around 2.5 acres. So it's bigger than an acre. And basically what we're doing is we have a 53 feet research vessel. We have, I'm trying to think, when it's spread out, it's probably, I don't really think, for a 10 or 12 feet wide trawl. The opening itself, maybe 8, 10 feet. It's a substantial net. It's 8, 10, 12 feet wide. There's basically
the same size as the lab uses?
Probably a little bigger. Yep.
Yeah.
How big stone is?
Well,
6 feet.
when it opened, well, we can call it a 6 feet, but I recall.
basically what it is we have two, they look like big planer boards, but they're heavy wooden doors that fall to the bottom. We got two lines that go out, they go to two big doors. Those doors have the lines that go back to the net attached to it. We release the net, it's floating on the surface, and we release those two doors, and they go down, they ride on the bottom as we pull forward. And they spread that net out, and then there's floats on the top of the net opening, so it's spread up and it's spread out. And basically it's just this big drift sock shaped net that we're pulling through the water on the bottom for 10 minutes at a site. And we're measuring the exact distance from the time those doors hit the bottom to the time we start pulling them back up. So it used to just be a timed index. It used to be catch per trawl hour, but that never accounted for how far we actually trawled, the distance we actually covered. So that, we feel this value is more correct than the time if it's a per area trawl and it's a measured area.
Are you only measuring little small fish?
Well, what we're doing is we pull that net up after 10 minutes. It's got a strap on the back end. We open up and we dump everything into this sorting tray. It's about 6 or 8 feet long. Sometimes we fill the thing, sometimes 3 fish fall out. But it's got it's a small mesh net. Usually adult fish escape it. I mean, we're literally pulling around 1.5 knots, 1.8 knots. Big fish sense it and avoid it. Small fish usually get caught. We get a lot of perch because they tend to dive down and they're still within the opening. But we dump everything out. We sort it into species and ages. We count everything. And then we measure 30 of each species and age. So from every site, we have a count and a subsample of measurements of everything we caught. And in the end, everything gets pooled and we calculate per hectare everything we caught. So there's an estimate for young eater yellow perch, young eater walleye, shiners, smelt, trout perch, carp, you name it. If we catch it, we calculate an index. And by the way, we've had two of the biggest smelt year classes we've ever seen. It was unbelievable. We caught 7 pounds of young year matchstick size smelt at one site. We trawled for 10 minutes and had 7 pounds of smelt. And they're all a gram or whatever, you know. So, yeah.
I heard something about the smelt Canadian equipment that wasn't a market.
That could be the case. There is a.
That be part of the reason it's such an abundance.
You know, it could be, but I don't know. We're talking about.
I know, it's a huge.
We're talking about yearlings in Ohio waters in the Western Basin. I don't know how much they're affected by adults being trawled down at Long Point. You know, it certainly could affect it, but I don't know if that's easy. But it's the easy answer. It's the right answer.
Well, does that mean in a couple of years we can start going out with barrels and nets?
I think you could right now.
I have a two-part question.
Yeah.
Do you go to a designated spot or do you random?
We have, the sites were set up randomly within depth and habitat.
Okay.
So we have the Western Basin divided up into depths and habitats, and within those depth and habitat designation sites are randomly picked. So they're not all in 32 feet of water with a mud bottom. They're not all in 15 feet of water with a rock bottom. It's a mix of substrate type and depths, and we cover from, it's basically Point Retreat to Toledo. And then Ontario does a similar thing in their waters.
All right, now, do you go by, say, like your fish finder and it says, okay, we got fish, well, this is a good spot, we'll make a test here?
No,
It's more or less just random?
no, it was done in a map.
You have like a coordinates or something you go by?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
done in a mapping program that had layers of substrate, layers of depth. And once all those points were picked, those were put in our GPS, and that's the waypoint we go to every time. And it's so consistent that some of the sites we hang up on the exact spot, our net occasionally hang up. And there's one site we go to, well, site 8, we're going to hang up. About 3 minutes into it, we're hung up. So it's not just the same area, it's the same spot, same 40 spot there.
The smelt